Hey, everybody. Thanks for joining us today. And for those that'll join it, can we say on demand? That's what my Peloton instructors say when I'm riding the bike. Like I'm either riding live or I'm riding on demand. So those of you that don't catch it live, you'll be able to catch us on demand on YouTube later. I appreciate everybody coming out on short notice and joining us for this series of announcements that has to do with our press releases that went out today and our partnership with Super League Gaming, but also some insight onto the future of ggCircuit's path and where we're focused on in the future with this partnership, being able to take over a lot of our player-facing stuff. So, Winger, how are you doing?
I'm good, sir. I'm good. Excited to be here. Good news.
Good. Have you traveled recently?
Tokyo.
Oh yeah, not for pleasure. Like I'm talking about for work. For work.
Yeah, we haven't gotten much. New York was the last place that I went on, but we're in Oklahoma all this week. Actually, we're in Oklahoma for the next 3 and 4 weeks. Let's just be honest.
That's
St.
one of the
Louis.
places I was just thinking as we talked about. I visited OS Studios and our install out there in New York, but I forgot that we did the install for Spotify in their corporate offices in New
Yep.
York. And so it's funny, like, we're so busy. We have so many things going on. For those that don't know, and I don't know if it's public or we talk about it a lot, but we have about 39 staff now at ggCircuit as it's grown over the year. And a lot of them, most of them are developers, but we do have a pretty sizable services department, marketing and events and account managers and everything that you'd have to have with a growing company. But that's just to the point where like we all can't keep up with our own different departments, I seem as much, like I remember when Dustin flew to New Zealand, like it was like in New Zealand 2 days before I realized he was gone. I was like, oh, Dustin's in New Zealand working on an install. Cool. Would like to go there.
I need something from him. Where's he at?
Right. Why is he not in here today? I thought he would go to lunch with me today, but anyway, well, what I thought we would do, and I've got a little outline set up for us today, and I appreciate J Mac for running the behind the scenes stuff for us and filtering through anybody that's got questions. Just shout them out in the Twitch chat, and as long as they're reasonable, J Mac will relay them into us, and we'll address them as we go, or thoughts or just any kind of feedback we'd love to have during the show. But what I'm going to do is just I don't know that everybody's heard the full story and in a 10-minute condensed version of who we are and where we came from and why it led up to this announcement with Super League Gaming this week that actually came out today, this morning. But I just wanted to touch base with everybody on the story of who we are and why we do what we do, our purpose, our mission, and what gets us out of bed every day and what gets us excited. So for those of you that don't know, in 2004, I was running Xbox events Friday nights at my church basement as the youth pastor of the church. Like we would bring about 8 Xboxes and big CRTVs together and link them up on System Link. The original Xbox, the original Halo. There was no Xbox Live. There was no online play. We would hold little tournaments where 4 players per split screen TV in one room would running a network cable all the way out to another room, and just with a little switch, nothing online. And as we did that over and over and over, I realized like there was something here. Like the part I liked about this was the community building around playing the games together. It's not about the games themselves. It's not about the technology. It's about the players themselves coming together with the theme or the underlying purpose of playing a game together. So at that point, we actually started setting up these things in some office space that we had at my current business, which was an eBay consignment store. And we started eBash in 2004 as its own standalone, what we've always called a LAN center. And that first LAN center had 14 PCs and 18 Xboxes, and they were all online. And Halo 2 was just getting ready to come out. If it hadn't come out already, it was just getting ready to come out. It was one of our big titles on Xbox. Counter-Strike 1.6 was our big game on the PC, along with World of Warcraft was first coming out. And the thing just grew, and people kept showing up and playing. And we would do all kinds of events, and it grew to the point where we moved it into its dedicated facility that I'm sitting in today in 2006. So for 15 years, this December, eBash as a store here in Indiana will celebrate its 15 years of running as a LAN center. Currently, we have 110 stations. Today, as you watch the show, you'll probably see people coming in and out through the fish tank behind me. That's the store right through there. For many years, as my office, I sat here and I would sit here during the day and run the front counter. So I would see people come in through the fish tank and run out and check them in. But we were constantly doing events and running events to have purpose, to have reasons why the players would show up and get together. And then those players would form relationships and they would team up and come back for whether it be a lock-in, whether it be a 48 straight marathon event. We had big events over spring break where you tried to beat 2 or 3 different games, or tournaments in a bracket. A lot of those players made relationships, and we just realized that there's something here, that there's something in this world that we now call esports. Back then, we just called them video game tournaments. So over the years, as we built out and started working with other folks, like we traveled in 2005 to MLG in St. Louis, and I was an admin there and helped run a lot of the single player buy-in, or what do they call it? They call it qualifying rounds for the teams to get seeded, I think. And then we traveled with the World Cyber Games, was a thing back then. We traveled with the World Series of Video Games, was a thing back then. 2005, 6, and 7. Just tried to get as many events and our players going to things that we could. So we would load them in our vans and take a caravan of players out to these events. But a lot of times it would be holding an event at our store for who was the best 4 Halo players. And then we would take those 4 Halo players from our store to an MLG event or to a World Cyber Games event or a WSVG event. Then we started building multiple stores. So as this went well, and by our standards, it went well in the fact that we made about $10,000 a month in profit for this store in the 2006 years. 2006 and 7 were really good years for us. We then started trying to repeat it. So like once you've got a good model and you've got a good thing happening at a store as a business, you're like, okay, let's build a second one. So we went through a process and we built a store in Little Clinton, Indiana here, and tested it for a month or two, and then moved that equipment to Bloomington, Indiana, where Indiana University is, ran it there for a couple years. We started franchising and franchised the store in Evansville. We did a partnership store in Charleston, Illinois. We built another store in Indianapolis. And the theme across those years for us trying to repeat the model of this one store behind me here was no automation. There was no way to have constant events and programming. And we had no leverage. Even as we got 2 or 3 or 4 stores, we had no leverage with big partners because we were just a few centers with a few thousand players. So what we did then is that we started looking to team up with other LAN centers. So at that point, we knew of other LAN centers around the US specifically, and we just started reaching out, and we formed the ggCircuit brand in 2008. Like we went back recently and we looked through all the old events that we used to run and how we came up with the name. And we basically, it was as simple as 8 centers would be invited to participate in an event, and all 8. And I remember, Winger, you would do this with us. So the Gamers Funk, your store in Utah, would send $200 via PayPal along with the other 7 centers. So there'd be $1,600 sitting in a PayPal account. And then we would hold LAN events on Saturday, all day Saturday, to find our best team. And then those teams would return to the stores on Sunday, and we'd play in brackets on Sunday and split up the $1,600 between all of the top, usually 3 or 4 teams that came out of the brackets on Sunday. It was glorious because we could charge whatever we wanted Saturdays for those folks to join the tournament. So our only cost was the $200 buy-in to the prize pool. So most of us would bring in more money for those events on Saturday than would be the cost of the $200. And our players would have a chance to win a much bigger prize pool, and it wasn't our cost. So those things went really, really well from 2008 through about 2012. The problem was, if you remember, there's not many of us, Winger, that lived the life of year after year after year of staying in business. And it's true with any business, but I feel like with LAN centers, a lot of them set up and can run a year or two, and then they run out of energy or money or whatever it is that finally makes them shut the doors. And so we were rotating through a lot of different centers. There were some core centers that stayed with us all those years, but there was a lot that would come and go. The other problem we still had was that it wasn't automated. You know, like I don't even know. I don't think we used challenge then. I remember making brackets and spreadsheets and publishing those brackets on a URL on the web and advancing people through the brackets by updating Excel sheets, saving it as HTML, FTPing it to a folder, and having that display on a website somewhere. And it just was never sustainable. Like we couldn't have events 7 days a week because there was so much work we put into running it. So we paused that in 2012. And then in 2014, I called up my buddy over in Ireland, Chris McGee, that ran a set of game centers, and he had run some software in the mid 2000s that we had tinkered around with. And I said, Chris, I said, we've got to build something that is 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, that helps fill these centers up, that activates the players and engages the players. And we started working on a platform that was originally just going to be for eBash, letting people sit down and log in and play League of Legends. Was the first game that we built it for. And as you played League of Legends, you earned these little coins in the game. That was as simple as it was. And as we rolled it out that summer of 2014, we realized we kind of had something that other people would like to participate with. So on our 10th year anniversary for eBash in December that year, we released it to 10 other partners in the US. I believe your store was one of them, Winger. We had Devin, I remember, down in Hawaii. We had Andreas over in Switzerland or in Sweden. I'm trying to think of who the other ones were that I should have wrote them all down. So I apologize if you're watching and you were one of those 10 originals, but we just put the software out there for everybody to try, and it really took off and did well. And then the next year, what we realized was, in order to do this right, instead of it just being an event system on top of internet cafe software that had been out for years, we really needed to rebuild the management platform to, number one, we needed a good one to run our centers, but we also wanted more control and interaction with the players. So we started building ggLeap as a platform in 2016. And I'll never forget, UCI called. They're like, hey, rumor has it you're building a platform. And we're like, who told you? No one needs to know. Like, we don't really talk about it. And we sent them the code and they tested it and they said, you need to do 3 things. If you do these 3 things in the next 2 weeks, we'll install it at our brand new center. So our devs worked like mad overnight for weeks. And then we flew out. Dustin flew out with me. I remember we were helping them clone drives to get open at the last second and a bunch of other things we helped them with to make sure they were open. And our software was installed there. And to this day, it still runs UCI Center. And we continue to develop different pieces for them. But that was where we really kind of turned a corner as a company, I feel like. So again, the purpose of this all along was always to make it easier to run centers and to make it easier to do events in centers and to bring bigger partners to centers and fill these seats up in these stores. So as we went into early access and we started adding more centers and we brought on our first real seed investment in 2018, and then we released our full version at the end of 2018, October last year, we really were just fine-tuning the management system as a whole. And then this year, in 2019, we started turning our focus back on activities and events for the players. And I think that what we realized, and I want to say around May or June of this year, is that we realized that we were at a fork in the road. Like, as a company, we built up our company and built a great development team. And we were starting to look at hiring new folks and building up new divisions within the company that would serve the players in a system that would be B2C, like business to consumer. At this point, we'd always been B2B, but we were going to become B2C. And in realizing that and researching that and thinking about adding that in, we had 3 or 4 options for partnerships come to the table at the exact same time. And one of them was Super League Gaming. So we started working with Super League Gaming in April in just a real high level aspect of, bringing their ARAM events and bringing their LAN 3 events into centers without any real technology tie-ins yet. It was more like just getting to know each other and how we could work together. And that led us up to the announcement that everybody saw today, which if you haven't seen it yet today, I'm sure we can link it on this, or JMac in post-production before we load it up can go back in and put a URL. But we announced a partnership today with Super League Gaming where we're transitioning all of our player-facing initiatives into the hands of Super League Gaming. Now, what that means, and again, I'll cover this in just a little bit here, and then Winger, give you a chance to give us some feedback on some of this story that we're spinning. But the key here is that GG Champions was our player-facing brand, and where we were going to reach the players. We're turning that over to Super League Gaming, and Super League Gaming is a perfect partner for this because they've already got a well-established team that's working with publishers and working with brands and partners that are looking to bring events into dedicated arenas. And our network is full of dedicated arenas. Our arenas are all looking for events to bring players, to put players in the seats. But the best part of all of this is that I put everything through the strains and the eyes of my store that you see right behind me through this fish tank. Like, what would I do? Like, I have to be able to eat my own dog food, as Chris loves to say. Like, I think it's an Irish thing. He claims it's like some famous story about a dog food manufacturer, but we need to be able to eat our own dog food. Like, what would I do in my store? What would I approve in my store? What will help my store? Everything has to pass that criteria for me in order to bring it to the network of ggLeap centers. So Super League Gaming will be taking over our initiatives like the seasons, like the Fortnite events that we're working on with Epic, like our Prime initiative that's getting ready to launch that will now launch under the Super League Gaming brand. Special events and weeknight events like you guys just all participated in the Team Fortress Team Fight Tactics event with League of Legends, the new mode that they've got there, which has been amazing. I feel like Tuesday nights every week for the past 4 weeks. Centers have been filling up with TFT players on a normally slow night of the week. Those sort of things will all be Super League branded events inside of our platform. But I want to be clear to everybody because this has been a little bit confusing in some of the press releases and the way they've spun it. Like we are still a 100% independent business to business company, and our platform is still open and available for everybody else to integrate with. So it's not that Super League Gaming will become the primary brand. Imagine my store, eBash, and if you walk into my store and you sit down at one of my seats here, you'll see the software and you'll see the eBash logo and you'll see the eBash colors. And as one of the rotational banners in there, you'll see perhaps some of the Super League Gaming events. Or you'll see my own events that I upload or other events that centers can opt in and opt out of that become available in our network. So it's not that Super League Gaming is the primary brand on the interface. It's that Super League Gaming is now the primary player-facing events partner in our standard edition. So I want to make sure everybody understands that that's the purpose of this, is that we were going to do this as GG champions. We were going to provide these things for our centers in our network, and we'd started doing that. Those of you that played in our Fortnite events, that have participated in our beta season test events for high school and regular centers, like you understand where we were going with it. And the awesome people at Super League Gaming are literally just taking what we've started to build and they're going to just supercharge it and run with it in a very tight partnership between our two companies. So I don't know if there's anything you want to add to that part before we start talking about some of the details in it, Winger or JMac, if you've got any questions, but I'll just take a quick pause there before we go into the next section.
No, I just maybe want to reiterate from, a center owner that this is what centers have been looking for decades. Like you mentioned at the very beginning of this cast, this is what you tried to develop forever ago, and you didn't have the automation, you didn't have the partnerships. I mean, Super League Gaming is a big company. They have a major marketing base. They're already integrated with all the major publishers, all the major tournament developers, all the games that you said, other games. They even do mobile games. I mean, the possibilities, really, we're just scratching the surface now. And every single quarter is going to be bigger and better than the previous quarter. And the more, ggCircuit, the better that we do our job of bringing centers online successfully, the better that these tournaments are going to get, because they'll be bigger and there'll be more participation down the road as well. So it's just, to be successful in the esports center industry right now, it's easier than it's ever been.
Yeah,
I think the one thing that I wanted to reiterate is that player development from our development team does not stop either. We are still building the player stuff that is on our roadmap, and it's just Super League that is helping us with those resources to directly reach to the player that we're not great at. We're great at building great stuff for the player. We're not great at reaching out directly to the player.
Yeah, and Super League Gaming is the one reason why we ended up doing a partnership with them, as almost like as our first big partnership inside of the platform, but a primary passing of the baton of what we were working on to go to the players with to them so they can keep that path. Is they're very respectful and they understand the nature of these stores. They understand that they are partnering with each of these stores at the same time that they're partnering with us. They're respectful of reaching out to players and engaging players on behalf of the center and their brand. And everybody that's participated in their events so far understands that. So if you've done an ARAM event with them, they bring a TO in to help run the events. They'll bring players to your store that don't normally come to their store. They're marketing to players that maybe don't attend your store already. But once the players are there, they understand they're part of your atmosphere and your network. It's up to you to get them into your system and to get their details written down and to get them in your mailing list and to invite them back to your events as well. So the other big thing for me is that it's all about looking at these players in our stores and how many different things can we bring to those players. And if we did them ourselves, if GG Champions did this ourselves, we might have have seemed a competitor to other event companies that maybe wanted to bring events into our platform. You follow me? So by doing this in partnership with Super League has the top 3 spots in events. They'll be able to promote their events in our events section, but they're not going to have all the spots. Like Centers will be able to make their own events in the new events section, and other partners will be able to bring events in the events section. And I think the key that I want everybody to understand is that players can consume a lot more different types of events than we all give them credit for. And they will make accounts with a lot of other people. I used this example the other day with subscription services online. Like my family subscribes to Netflix and to Hulu, and I'm sure we'll buy Disney Plus when it comes out. And we have subscriptions to Napster for music. We spend money in the iTunes store, and we spend money in Google Play Store. Like we all are customers of a lot of different folks in subscription and paid for service companies. Like there will be players that walk into our stores that maybe Super League offers 19 different events going on, but none of those events that player is that interested in. There may be another partner that's plugged into our system that's interested in those events. Maybe that partner wouldn't have plugged in if with us if we were making competing events in their eyes by being a B2C company as ggCircuit and ggLeap. So we're taking that away from that being a conflict of interest so that we can work with a lot of different people down the road in these centers. The other piece before we move on to some of the Super League gaming stuff is we're working with a lot of partners at an enterprise and white label level that are going to build events and apps that will cross over between all these versions. Okay. So Super League Gaming not only will have these tournaments and things available in our standard edition, but enterprise customers that are running our enterprise licenses that have control of, they have a total white labeled screen. They have a different event section. They may still want to plug some of these Super League Gaming events into their platform. They as well may make events that they have things in their system that they want to come over and make available inside of the standard edition. There's a couple that we haven't signed yet that we're in deep negotiations with. I could use a couple examples here. One that we do work with right now I'll use is just ggO. So ggO is a company that we work with that does scouting and provides statistical analysis of your games and connects high school players with scholarship opportunities. There's no conflict in having them available in the centers at the same time Super League Gaming events are available in the centers, nor is there the possibilities of a third party who has a white label version of our software not wanting both ggO and Super League events available in their platform. So ggCircuit is primarily now a business-to-business company. We're agnostic to every brand. We have key partners that we work with that will make sure that their events are promoted and made available inside of the platforms at the benefit of the center and the player. But we're always looking to work with as many people as possible so that we can fill this store up. Until these stores are 100% utilized 7 days a week, then we're not going to cut any deal that leaves anybody out of the chance to come in and bring more events. All right, so let's talk about some of the Super League Gaming partnership keys. A lot of these details are not out there yet. So the people that are reading press releases on Wall Street for Super League Gaming, they'll understand, the idea that we have 15,000 screens and we have almost 700 centers now. They'll understand all those numbers, the number of players that we have actively. But for centers specifically, because again, we're a B2B company, I'm speaking to the centers. Here's where some of the focus is. So we talked about the branding fading away and Super League Gaming branding coming in place of GG Champions. But we're also going to work with other brands and work in cooperation with them. So I'll use Fortnite as an example. So our next Fortnite series, we'll get confirmation on these dates, but I'm going to give you dates right now. So the weekend of October 18th, we're looking at doing our next big weekend event with Fortnite, and it'll be in cooperation with Super League Gaming. And then starting the Monday after that, for 8 straight Mondays in 5 regions around the world, we're going to hold Monday night events for Fortnite as well in a partnership, working with Epic directly for prizing and working with Super League Gaming to push more gamers into the centers. It's awesome to think about an Asian tournament, a Middle East tournament. Now there's Middle East servers for Fortnite, a European tournament, a North American East, and a North American West. We're talking about worldwide support from Super League and Epic and Fortnite on these events. I have another cool thing to share at the end of this about Fortnite, so stay with us, center owners, if you want some more juicy details at the end of this. We'll also continue to do things like we're doing with the TFT event and Ryan HB Oman. We've got some stuff coming up we're working on with Razer. It's not finalized yet, so I won't say too much about that deal, but we're working on some stuff with them. And then I'll tell you a little bit more at the end of this about some center-specific events that you guys can all run at your centers. Instead of hiring our own people, again, we're using Super League's people to go out and brand this and to go out and get sponsors and to go out and get the publishers more involved. We'll have a lot more detail on that. And the overall goal of this in the end is to have, through our partnership with Super League, at least one themed event every day of the week. The slow days. We're so focused on Sunday through Thursday. We'll have things on Friday and Saturday, but for all of us that run centers, we all know we don't need a lot of help filling the stores up on Friday and Saturday. You know, like the TFT event. I'll use that as an example. A lot of centers' feedback was like, oh man, we could have a lot more people show up if we had it on Saturday. Well, we all don't need a lot more people to show up on Saturday. I understand where you're coming from, that you'll have better attendance at that event. But what we all need is we need to utilize the time and the space that we have available, which happens to be on Sunday through Thursday. So that's our goal of the program. Now let's talk about some more details of it. So Super League Gaming in the contract with us is guaranteeing a minimum monthly distribution of prizes as part of it. This is exactly what we were going to do as GG Champions. They've come in and said they're agreeing to do the exact same thing on behalf of all the centers. So there will be a guaranteed amount of prizing, not that goes into a prize vault that maybe people will redeem later, but things that are delivered to the players. So prizes in a prize vault that they can redeem, and for like events every weekday, events on the weekends, whatever it is, we're going to deliver a certain amount of volume, and it's a sizable chunk. I'll probably be able to share it with you. I'm not 100% sure that they're comfortable with me sharing the number, but it is a sizable chunk of prizes that will be distributed to players inside of centers in ggLeap exclusively. So like, you can't go home and win it. You can't go to one of their other events that's not at a ggLeap Lane Center. You're going to get guaranteed prizes for those players every month. The Fortnite series I talked about is coming soon. That'll be our first weeknight event that we start. And then we're going to start the Super League Gaming Prime program. The Super League Prime is what it's called. If you've been on some of my town halls or Twitch casts before, we've talked about this, and I think this is a very crucial program for keeping players engaged over time. But there will be a Prime subscription that you will have to Super League Gaming that will unlock more prizes and more events in addition to that base amount of support that they're guaranteeing to provide. So imagine the Battle Pass in Fortnite. There always is the availability to play through the Battle Pass and earn some prizes, whether you pay for it or not. But if you pay for that Prime subscription, there's a whole nother level of prizes and things that you can unlock at that level as you become a paying Prime subscriber. And a lot of that will be kickbacks to the center as well. So my favorite one that we're talking about right now with them, and we'll hopefully be able to give the exact details in the next couple of weeks, but as part of the Prime subscribers at my store here at eBash, Super League Gaming will pay me to provide free game time to those players in those off-peak hours of some amount. Now, it's not going to be a lot. It'll be a portion of the monthly fee. But what I'll do at eBash is that I'll bundle this as a VIP program with Super League Gaming Prime, and I'll probably give one free day pass a month and use the money coming back from Super League Gaming to subsidize that. So follow me through this. A player walks in, they become an eBash VIP member. They get their membership to Super League Prime included with that payment, and they'll get all the Super League Prime content and extra events and extra prizes and things that are for Prime only subscribers, and they'll get a free day pass that Super League will pay for and help subsidize, pay me for at my center. It's crazy to think about, but it does exactly what we're doing by filling up the seats during the week, and they're not asking us to do it for free. And those of you that have run their events so far know this. Like, they've been paying for the players to come play in the Super League Gaming events at our stores. That's the whole premise of the Land Pre and the ARAM socials they've been running. So any questions or thought about that, J-Mac or Winger, before we go into the more of these details at the end of this?
Nope, I just want to hear more. This is this is what all the centers want to hear. That's what we're all here for.
Okay, so as part of this Super League Gaming integration, there'll be a new events tab that's going to appear inside of ggLeap. So if everybody looks at the ggLeap screen in your centers right now in the bottom right corner, got to do this by memory, but I don't remember exactly what they are, but it's games and it's apps and it's settings and it's something else. The settings is going away to the top bar and is being replaced with an events section. The events section, which is where the Super League gaming events will appear that the players can participate with, will also include an event system that the centers will be able to utilize in your web admin. So now centers will be able to create an event using our same formula and point system that we use for all of our events. You'll be able to define a start date and an end date. You'll be able to define a start time and an end time, whatever bookends you want to put on your little event and your challenge. And you'll be able to pick a game or multiple games that we support. And you'll be able to choose the number of games that count towards their score. So if you've played in our events, the idea is that come play all week long. Your best 5 games make up your score. Come play all day Saturday. Your best 2 games is your score. Whatever you define, you'll upload your own graphic for your event, and then those events will also appear directly in that event section, and we'll create a leaderboard directly for that event section that'll appear in your slider. You'll be able to embed in your website, and will show up inside of ggLeap's event section. So you go to the events at eBash. eBash will have a Fortnite challenge this coming weekend that you can join. During that event inside of ggLeap, you'll be able to bring up the leaderboard right in the center section of ggLeap. When you look at how you're standing, what place you're in, who the people around you, who you're trying to beat, it's a cool new tool available to all the centers in our network. These are the things that partnerships like this will allow us to continue to build. So if we're building this system for ourselves and for GG Champions, that's now part of Super League Gaming, that technology and that code base and those tools are now available for centers to go out and do their own events the same way. So if you're a big chain and you run 22 locations and you want to start holding your own similar events, go for it. The tools will be there for you to be able to create those events and run with them. The second part of this, which is a huge piece, and we just got approval from Epic and Fortnite to do this, we have a lot of custom servers from Fortnite. And I know a lot of centers have found their way into having their own one custom server through like a streamer or somebody that maybe had access to one. But we've gotten permission now from Epic that we can now allow these to be rented out. They're not going to be, you'll reserve them and get your refund back if your people show up, because we don't want everybody to say they're going to run events and then they don't actually have players show up. But we have custom servers from Fortnite that are now available for centers to reserve for their own events at their own center. No stipulations, no guidelines. If you just want to have 20 people log in and play at your center on a Saturday and want to run a little fun event around that, you'll just go into our system and you'll be able to reserve them. It'll be on a first come, first serve basis, but we have a lot of them. So I don't anticipate in the current state it'll be a problem. And if they get full and we're running low on them, then we'll just go back to our good friends at Epic and say, listen, hey, they're all being used every weekend now. We need some more of them, and I'm sure that they'll make some more available to us. I hope everybody understands that's a big one. That's a real big one that we've been working on for a while, is the ability to rent out our custom servers. I keep saying rent out. It's not a money thing. It's a reserve. To be able to reserve those, and we'll use our automated system the same as all of you that have been playing with us. So you'll be able to sell tickets. A ticket will get them 3 queues in the custom server. You'll have the panel on the admin that you can control the custom server and launch it. You'll be able to track the stats in it just like our normal software does. It's going to be fantastic. I mean, it's my manager here in my store, Cody, has been running events by hand for Fortnite for the past 6 months. And now that we can put a custom server in his hands for his events, it's going to make his life so much easier and be able to, again, go back to why we started this 15 years ago, is that we want to make this thing automated and have events all the time. So I fully expect all of our stores to have 20 to 30 events available between Super League Gaming, ggO, Razor, other third partners we're working with, and our own events showing up in the system, so that there's always something going on for players any day of the week, every day of the month, every month of the year. I want us to all have completely full calendars of events that players can sit down and jump in and engage with all the time. All right. That's about 30 minutes of just me talking. That's about everything I've got on my notes that I wanted to make sure and get out there and discuss. Is there any questions that you guys have, or any questions that you've seen coming through JMac that we can answer for people as far as the Super League, specifically the Super League Gaming partnership is kind of the main announcement?
There was a question about picking and choosing centers. Like when they did the Aram socials, some centers didn't get chosen because of Super League's resources.
Bias.
Yeah, bias.
But it really wasn't biased at all. So I'll answer why that was, because I know so much more about Super League now after working with them for a couple months now. So Super League Gaming's core system that they built up has branded teams for certain cities. And so they have a branded team, for example, for New York. So they have one team for Super League Gaming that's in New York. The two things that we're thinking about moving forward is taking all of the ggLeap centers in North America, and then we'll put this into all the other regions of the world right away. But it doesn't really make sense to have like a team for every center. So we're going to do one of two things. We're either going to put like 8 regional centers all feeding into one team for that region. So like all the 8 centers around New York will feed into their New York branded team, and the best players will then be welcomed back to participate in some online events against each other from the centers. Or we'll just look at specifically using the centers themselves as the teams, which is where we're leaning now, which is kind of the concept. If you remember, JMac, I feel like in season 1 and 2 of our original ggCircuit seasons 3 years ago, it was like PC Gamers Hawaii, eBash Terre Haute, the Gamers Funk. Like you represented your center and you were trying to make your center show up on the leaderboards more so than you were as a player. That's where we're leaning. I have a feeling that's the direction we'll go, because otherwise Super League would have to go out and create a bunch of other brands in cities that they're not in yet. Because it doesn't make sense for me in my city here in Indiana. I'm kind of close to Indianapolis, but they don't have a team for Indianapolis. They have a team for Chicago, but I'm really far away from Chicago. It doesn't make sense. So they would have to have their creative team all of a sudden create a whole new branded theme around an Indianapolis team, and that's really not us. In Terre Haute, like we're an hour and a half from Indianapolis, so instead focus on each one being, the store. So this would be the eBash Terre Haute team. If I open eBash Evansville again, then it would be the eBash Evansville team. It would be the Gamers Funk team from Utah. It will be PC Gamers from Hawaii. I think that's the direction we're going.
So this is
in that case, there is really no limits. Like the limits of who will be able to participate, if anything, will probably ultimately just be based on participation, and maybe not even then, because they plan on reimbursing and paying the centers for attendance. So if nobody attends your thing, you would just not get reimbursed. Like you're paid by the number of players that participate in the events that they put in. So they'll probably just make it available to everybody, and then everybody will be paid and compensated based on how many people show up at your event.
The other question was related to who pays for Prime.
Yeah, so the Prime system will have 2 methods of payment. So the players will be able to join themselves anytime right through the interface. So if they just want to pay Super League Gaming and join Prime program right through the interface, they can. If they do that, Super League Gaming, just like we were going to do for GG Champions, will kick back at least $1 to the center, and will also offer the center to pay for off-peak time during the week as part of that package as well. So out of that $7.99, chances are you may get back $2 or $3 or $4 of that right back to the center. And so the money will go to Super League, and Super League will then reimburse the center. Again, at the end of the month, the player has to use it. So like it's not for the center to just go out and make a bunch of fake accounts and get some money coming back into them. It doesn't do anybody any good. If Super League wants to be able to bring events, they need players physically there to participate, or the brands and sponsors won't be interested. So we've got to have the players show up and actually play to earn that money back. The other way will be, like a lot of bigger centers like myself may look at doing this. I recommend this as especially in other countries that are not part of the U.S. market, and it's not as easy for the players to have credit cards, is that you'll be able to wholesale buy Prime subscriptions like we've always talked about. You'll get those at a discount. Then you can bundle them with an offer in your center and charge the player directly for that Prime, and be able to make a little more than $1. kickback on those, and then still have the option of selling some of that off-peak time back to Super League gaming. So those will be the two ways that players can join. I'll use an extreme example. Okay, we have a center that's really conscious of their brand and their players, and they really want to be in charge of everything. The wholesale version is the way to go, because then they can sell, just like I'm talking about doing for eBash, a bundle or a brand of their own, and include the Super League Prime with that. The benefits that come with Super League Prime, the prizes and the benefits the players will get from Super League Prime can all be bundled with that, but it'll still be the center making the arrangement with the player. Now, when the player goes in and connects for the first time, they will still connect their ggLeap account to Super League. Like, in order to let Super League market that player to sponsors and brands, the player has to give Super League permission to connect their account. Okay, so that's not a ggCircuit relationship. That's not an eBash relationship in my store. That's a relationship between the player and Super League Gaming. So if you want to be available to win a year's supply of Red Bull from the Red Bull TFT Open that Super League puts out there, then you'll have to make sure that you connect in at one time. You just have to do it one time, give Super League permission to, become a customer of their platform, and then they can use your eyeballs, for lack of a better term. They get credit for you as they go out and get more sponsors as part of their program. So hopefully that answers the question. But I think that's what the question was about, is kind of like how the economics are going to work.
Yeah. Are there any fighting game titles being looked at?
Yeah, I don't know if anybody follows Super League, but Super League just signed a deal with Capcom, and they're working on Street Fighter. This is the other great benefit of this partnership, is that they'll bring games to us that we didn't have integrated, and we'll bring games to them they didn't. And now together, like, we can focus on the integration and the technology piece, and they can focus on going out and getting the business deals and integration in place. So yes, Street Fighter will be the first one, because we've got that relationship through Super League with Capcom. I don't know what else is big, to be honest, in the fighting game community. Obviously, Smash Brothers is a big one, and down the road we'd love to integrate something with them, but everybody, I think, knows how closed off Nintendo's world is. I think we're better off to think about partnerships with the Mortal Kombats and the Tekkens and those sort of fighting game folks before we'll probably be able to get to Smash Brothers.
And this is really my own question, but I know there'll be a lot of people ask about whether it's here in just North America or international. Can you speak on that?
Yeah, it will. Again, the weekend of Markoff's October 18th, when we start our Fortnite event, it won't, like, Prime won't be ready to launch then. Prime is launching in November. So in October, you may have to connect to a Super League gaming account for free to be eligible, but it will be all 5 regions around the world that we service with all of our other events. So that will start right away with Asia. Will have a server, Middle East, Europe, North America East, North America West. We don't have that many centers in South America. We get some people that ask about South America. There's some potential that we might be able to get into those markets, but since there's not a lot of centers on our service there, then it doesn't really make sense for us to really put any of Epic's money for the Fortnite events into that region, because we just can't give them the numbers that we can in these other regions. We're looking at yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to ask, what's the start date that center owners can plan to start seeing the changes in the ggLeap interface?
Yeah, so the bookends are October 18th and November 18th. So October 18th will be when we first start seeing the event section, probably along with the Fortnite tournament we hold that weekend. And then you'll gradually see, like, we've got weekly releases planned over the next 6 weeks. To be clear, our dev team has been going nuts and crazy with a bunch of different projects as far as our own release of this under the GG Champions brand for about 9 months. So all of those things are coming together at the same time we were planning on doing them. We're just now putting Super League as our partner in those projects to really focus on the benefits for the players directly and to connect the players with the brands. So it's not as if we're signed this deal with Super League and now we're starting to work on all these things. These are things that we've been working on for a while that are just going to start coming out. One thing that to keep in mind, centers, and we're trying to figure out the best way to do this, but because we let the centers really upgrade and downgrade their versions within our software, we've got to figure out at what point we stop supporting old versions of our software. And the funny thing is that like we have centers that are still running versions of our software before 1.0. Like we're on what, JMac? I'll put you on the spot, but what's the most recent number you've seen? 1.6, 1.7 something?
1.934.
1.934. And there's people that are, and again, there's hundreds of updates for every level. That's why it's 934, so at some point we're going to have to stop servicing those old versions just because we're not going to. There's just like bug fixes and security features that are in the new versions that it's kind of like when Windows, eventually in Windows you need to update because like somebody can take possession of your PC from a bug that maybe came out 3 years ago if you don't ever update. So we're trying to figure out exactly when we're going to like stamp these things as like you got to be on this version or higher. Like, we're never going to force anybody if we can help it to upgrade. But if we don't at some point draw the line, then like we've got people running versions that are a year plus old. So we'll have to figure that kind of stuff out. But the dates for us are October 18th was when the Fortnite weekend will happen. And then the Monday right after that, and every Monday all the way to December 23rd, there'll be a Fortnite event every Monday night with $10,000 payouts, $2,000 per region in a fun event every Monday night at all these centers, which is crazy fun to think about. And then in the middle of that, Super League Prime will launch. And the target date on that's November 18th. So when that launches, there will be a brand new prize vault. There'll be an option for the players to claim all of their old ggCircuit coins and turn them into the new Super League Gaming currency and be able to go shopping with those in the Super League Gaming prize vault. Like stuff that everybody knows we've been working on forever and everybody knows it's been built in. The fun thing is that now Super League's coming in to charge up all of those categories versus us going to do it as GG champions and hiring a bunch of people and going out and getting a bunch of sponsors and brands to fill those up. So it's going to be amazing. Like I'm super excited about it for eBash, which is right through the fish tank here. Like it's going to be probably one of the best fall and winter seasons that our store has ever seen in the 15 years we've been in business because of all of these activities. What else you guys got? You got anything else? We're going to do it in under an hour. That's amazing.
Someone just asked, wait, existing coins can be transferred over?
All right, so I'll touch on that a little bit, even though this is not decided. And I know Matt from Super League's probably watching, and he's cringing right now. Oh, gosh, Zach, don't promise something that we don't decide to do. So the concept is the coin system as it stands, like we've spent years and years perfecting it and building it and the formulas and everything therein. It'll stay there running as a formula behind the scenes. Okay, so everybody that's earned coins and everybody that's spent coins or whatever, that's still there and that's still existing. The debate is, like, I think what we're going to do is let the centers, if they want to, take over their coin ecosystem and keep running it as their own loyalty system within their store. So the GG coins will become eBash coins if eBash wanted to do that. I'm not going to do it. I don't know many centers that will want to do it. They'll have to be really against using the Super League currency moving forward for some reason, which after I explain how it works, I don't know why they would. But let's say that they want to, and so they just keep using eBash coins for Mountain Dews and free hours or whatever they're giving away from their local prize vault. The day that we switch this on for converting a balance of coins into Super League's currency, which has not been named, he who will not be named, like Voldemort. It's not named yet, but I don't know what to call it for this example, because the problem is as soon as we call it something for an example, then we start calling it that. But we'll just call it Super League Bucks.
I think it was fine. You just said currency. I think that's
currency.
Fine.
So whatever the Super League currency is, like as you sign up and join Super League system for free, you'll be able to claim, let's say, the last 30 days of your coins, and it'll convert over into the new Super League currency. Then maybe when you become Prime, or we'll probably have like a founders pack for players to buy at a discount where they get a year's worth of Prime, something like that big, and then they'll be able to claim all the coins that they've ever held on to and still hold on to and convert those into Super League currency. Because a lot of those Super League currencies will be used for buying into extra events or to challenge another player to a match, or join, get an extra entry into a tournament or whatever. Those will be things Super League Gaming uses to engage the players, as well as a really robust and full prize vault that'll be full of things that the players can go in and buy and redeem. And yes, we're going to try to do our best job to make as much of it digital as we can so that everybody around the world right away can use it. And then we'll try to get as much physical prize support around the world as we can. Some areas are easier. Super League has a great partnership with Logitech. Logitech's pretty big in Europe. Like, that would be easy for us to offer Logitech prizes in Europe, but some things just are not easy. Like, we're working with a partner right now, this Winger in Saudi Arabia, that we're trying to help build out a big center, and like trying to get equipment into the country, like in a shipping container, is nearly impossible. So and this is just like a dedicated build out of a huge arena in one shipping container, and it's almost impossible to get it into that country. I'm not as sure how you would get a box of, like a few $100s worth of Razer prizes or Logitech prizes. So the easiest thing to give away is V-Bucks or Riot Points or Steam codes or in-game items that you can redeem for skins or things in-game. Those are the things that we'll be looking to try to get as much as possible in there. And then we'll try to give as much value to things for centers that, like, the Prime users will be able to reserve the first 2 weeks of a new event before regular customers can reserve those spots. Again, it has nothing to do with charging money. It's just like a benefit of being a Prime subscriber is you get first dibs at upcoming events. Those sort of things.
How involved will centers need to be for weekly events? Will it be plug and play, or do they need dedicated staff to coordinate players?
Yeah, if you've done the Super League Gaming events now, you know that it's very much plug and play. Like, they bring their own staff in for a lot of those events. However, their events have been very manual, and so our events are very automatic, and that's our theme. And so our hope is that you still won't have to do much on your end as a center, because it'll all be tied into the system, and the players will be able to interact with Super League Gaming directly through ggLeap's platform. So we don't expect there to be much work at your local center. But we all know these bigger events, like these big weekend Fortnite events, there'll need to be some TLC given to players, because things that we can't control, like I want to bring my own keyboard, and I want my mouse to plug in, and I want my headset to be plugged in. And, like, you'll still have to do some physical stuff there. We're not planning on rolling a person out to every event that we run. We're trying to run events every night of the week, so we're just going to make them as automated as possible. The other thing is that they'll be creating marketing kits for everything, with the purpose, and they're very specific to this as much as we are, co-branding everything as a partnership with the center. So marketing materials will go out to an email list, like in cooperation with eBash, that say Super League Gaming and eBash present the upcoming Manic Monday Fortnite series. And as part of that partnership and that agreement that we have, eBash would be more than willing to let Super League Gaming help us reach out to all those players. I don't have a dedicated marketing person in my center, but Super League Gaming has dedicated marketing folks that can do this on behalf of all of our centers, and they'll do it in cooperation with our names and our brands, which is really cool.
Also, we should asterisk this as well. These centers, these are your centers still. Your centers aren't ggCircuit centers. These are not Super League Gaming centers. You still own your center. You still own your customers. And part of that is that you still need to run your business like you would a normal business. ggCircuit is going to continue to provide these tools. Our partners are going to continue to provide these tools, these co-branded marketing products and kits that'll go out. But at the end of the day, you still need to put in the effort to make your business successful. J-Mac's favorite quote, he tells it to me all the time: I can lead a horse to water, but I can't force it to drink. And that's going to be super, super applicable here. But we're just making it as easy as possible. As easy as flipping on that switch. Your employees will show up, they flip on the light switch, they turn on the computers, and your customers can just go. So you still need good employees, you still need good customer service. You still will want to blast your own events, create your own marketing. You still need to maintain your Instagram accounts, your Facebook accounts, your Twitter accounts, your Reddit accounts, your Snapchat accounts, your Discord servers. All of that is still going to be necessary, but you'll be able to boost, and it'll be just a lot easier than it's ever been before.
Yeah. I also want to keep it put in perspective. I'll use some real life examples. So, like for years, we've talked with John over at Nerd Street Gamers and Localhost. We're starting to talk to folks from Simplicity who bought out Play Live Nation. We're already working with Allied Esports and the esports arena build out folks. We're doing some work with GameStop now in a build out program with them. I want to, I'll say we work, even though everybody right now is like, oh, IPO, blah, blah, blah. We work is building out some esports offerings inside of their facilities. Like all of these people that we work with will be able to put everything that we're doing in this example with Super League Gaming through a filter. And many times they'll just want those events in their stores as well, even though they're enterprise licenses and they have white label options inside of their venues. It doesn't make any sense to not participate in a $50,000 sponsored event from Epic at your centers, because those events, some of these events will just have the Super League Gaming brand on it. It will not have Red Bull. It will not have Steel Series. It will not have Razer. Like there'll be no conflict with another brand that is promoting their product besides the event organizers who are running it. So there are people we're talking to now that are getting ready to do massive build outs across the US and Europe and different places. Like this business and this industry is exploding. And all of them will be working with us because we're the base system, we're the operating system in all of their venues. We can give them the brand and the control of their brand and their events. And then they have the option of like maybe their events they're creating can then pass over into the other realm of all the other centers. And the centers, all of us will love it. Like I will never have 100 eBash stores. Like originally I was going to build a bunch out. We didn't have software and events and relationships in place, so I had to build ggCircuit to save my stores and the other stores that I feel like are out there. That's the whole reason why we did this. We're going to keep doing that on behalf of stores like mine, and I fully expect a lot of brands and stores to build out a lot of different venues, but all of them should have access or the ability to have all of these events in their stores until there's the point where there's 10 of these on every corner. And I don't even know when that is, 10 years from now, 20 years from now, or whenever. And if we get to that point, folks, like if you're not that smart in business and you're just thinking about this from like my little store in my little town, I can tell you from my experience long before this in the ISP business is that anything that's successful and that you can run well for a period of time will enter into a point in your industry and your growth where roll-ups and expansions through acquisitions will happen. So if you think about that and you think about running this platform with all these events and eventually these big folks come through, don't think about it as they're going to come through and build on the corner next to me. They're going to come through and they're going to pick the best running stores in the market and they're going to acquire them and swap the logo out on the front of the building and then have you, if you want to, continue to work there or walk away and they'll hire people to run your store. That's where your true exit and your true value in this thing's going to be. Like that's the to me, if you're not going to build out multiple stores on your own, if you're just going to have one store, then why are you building? What's your future plan? Like it cannot be that you're just going to run that one store forever and ever and ever and make enough money running that one store that's like your end goal. Maybe you can pay for everything running it. You love doing it. It's your passion. But at some point, you're going to want to retire. And you're not going to want to go there every day. Or you're going to try to sell the business to somebody else in your market. The best way to do this and exit down the road is through an acquisition or a roll-up with one of these big players. So it's an exciting time. I'm as excited about things as I ever have been for my own store here, for our network of centers that are all clients of ours, for all the partners that are thinking about building out there, and especially for Super League, because I think Super League has a lot of the components ready to go, and we're literally just bringing them this platform and all of our eager centers that are like, help me fill up my seats, like fill this store up to 100% every day of the week. Go for it. If you can do that. And again, we're none of us are giving it away for free. Like people are paying to use it. So as long as people are paying me to use my store, I want everybody to take this into consideration. Run some financial models of your store being full for 12 hours a day, 7 days a week. Like just run that financial model for fun and put in a dollar amount of your current hourly rate or half your hourly rate and see what those financial numbers look like. It's crazy to think about, but that's what we should all be focused on. What can we do to fill these centers up? That's always been our purpose. That's what this partnership's all about. That's what the work we'll do together with Super League will be all about. And that's what I'll continue to work for until my store here is full. Cool.
I like it, sir. Great job.
I appreciate everybody's time and effort, and especially shout out to everybody within ggCircuit. We've been working hard, which not like it's funny, but we go into like crunch mode even more so the next 2 months. Like our goal is to deliver this full system in time for the holidays with a crazy amount of fun events and integrations for everybody so that we can all have a nice holiday season around Christmas and New Year's with everybody around the world and all of our stores just looking back and saying, man, this was totally worth all the hard work. And maybe I'll get to play a game someday. Maybe. Civilization Revolution 2. Here we come.
Or no, we're going to play Castle Crashers, remember?
Oh, I love Castle Crashers. Thanks, Georgina, for getting this shirt for me. I appreciate it. Got one for my son, too. I don't know if he's worn it yet. Probably hasn't showered in a week since he's been in college, but awesome. Thanks, J-Mac.
Appreciate it, gentlemen.
Guys. Thank you. Bye-bye.